So education is freedom. I'll tell you how it can change your life, and it certainly has changed my life, and how it really can change society and humanity as a whole. I grew up in a very small town in the northeastern part of the United States with literally 3 rooms and 6 siblings, and basically too many kids, too little money. Not an unusual story for many parts of the world to be able to run a Fortune 500 company or to be jetting all over the world. I'm sitting here in London today. I'll be doing a book event. I'll be doing some business here, visiting with some friends here. I just have this amazing life that one wouldn't expect from that kind of start. And bottom line is I attribute it all to having discovered at a very early age that education was the key to unlocking doors, and I could do anything I wanted to do in life by learning.
What is $1 million brand to you?
Anything can be $1 million brand if it captures the imagination of the user, of the consumer. Brands, I've discovered, whether it's 7-Eleven, whether it's Blockbuster, all comes down to what it is you stand for, what's inside.
No, I can't stop till I'm good and done.
I became obsessed with learning everything I could learn. I learned how to fly airplanes. Today, if I want to go to New York, I jump in an airplane and fly there myself.
Guys, welcome to another episode of the $1 Million Branders podcast. Today, I believe we have a guest who is creating a huge legacy in this world that I think is so needed right now. And I honestly feel blessed that he's done us the honor of coming on the show today. I've been allowed to call him Jim. I'll introduce him as James W. Keys, a Columbia University graduate who navigated the corporate world from Gulf Oil Corporation, Citgo Petroleum, then as the CEO of 7-Eleven, pioneering retail systems technology. As the chairman and CEO of Blockbuster, he steered the company through tumultuous times, focusing on innovation and financial restructuring. Not an easy game, guys, for those of you who've worked in corporate. A philanthropist at heart, he's founded the Education is Freedom Foundation, which is now so close to my heart. And we're going to do something we've never done on the show. We're going to do some giveaways. So make sure you watch to the end. This organization is empowering millions and millions of students, and I'm going to say people worldwide, with his incredible book that has just come out, Education is Freedom, a self-help guide for humanity. And currently he serves on the board of the Murphy USA Inc. There you go. And contributes to various civic organizations. And with all your free time, Jim, I know that you are flying a plane, you speak Japanese, you play probably like 100 instruments knowing you, and you're always learning. You're such a huge inspiration. And I know, and you spoke about the way that you come from very humble beginnings and didn't come from an educated family, but I'm not going to spoil the story. I would love for you to walk us through your journey, your childhood, your early life that influenced your journey, your spirit, and the legacy you're now building.
Sure. That was quite an introduction. I think I need to take you on the road with me to introduce me everywhere I go.
I'm done. I'm in. You had me at hello, as Jerry Maguire would say.
Well, thank you for the kind words. Yes, I did have a bit of an interesting start in that I grew up in a very small town in the northeastern part of the United States with literally 3 rooms and 6 siblings, and basically too many kids, too little money. Not an unusual story for many parts of the world. But it was one of those starts in life that would not have given me the normal trajectory to be able to run a Fortune 500 company or to be jetting all over the world. I'm sitting here in London today. I'll be doing a book event. I'll be doing some business here, visiting with some friends here. I just have this amazing life that one wouldn't expect from that kind of start. And bottom line is I attribute it all to having discovered at a very early age that education was the key to unlocking doors, and I could do anything I wanted to do in life by learning.
I love it. And one of the things you mentioned, which I think is so great, that you just knew it was possible for you. I mean, you didn't come from an educated family or anyone that had graduated. Can you share a moment where you had to overcome a self-limiting belief, and how did you break through it in order that it was possible for you to go to Columbia University and then go back and teach afterwards, which is so incredible?
Yeah, I was very fortunate, even though my parents did not have an education. Neither of them actually even went to high school, believe it or not. They both dropped out of school in the 6th or 7th grade. And so they didn't really know what to tell me or how to tell me to succeed. They just knew instinctively that in books, in learning, was a better future for me than they were able to. Very intelligent people had very big aspirations in life, but were constrained by their lack of education. So my father used to say in particular that, Jim, they can take your money, they can take your things, they can take your house. They actually did. Our house was condemned. I know that at the time when he told me that, but it ultimately did happen. But he used to say, they can't take what you know. That will always be yours. And use that as your secret weapon to be able to achieve anything you want in life.
Wow.
Because the more you know, the more you can do. So yeah, it was great advice. But you asked about it, about others who perhaps threw up obstacles. My dad ended up passing at a very young age. I was 12. I ended up with going back with my mother, and she wanted a better life for me. So she moved in with a gentleman who probably was not excited about having now a 12-year-old young man disrupting their life. And he, for many years, would tell me, who do you think you are? You know, you know your place. You'll never go to college. What makes you think you're college material? Even if you are, you could never afford college. So it was all of those negative reinforcements to the point that the gentleman actually, I had to drag him out of a car in a carbon monoxide filled garage when he tried to kill himself at some point. And, you know, these are the things you look at that and you say, oh my gosh, how did I survive that?
Yes.
But it actually gave me more strength, having experienced those kinds of things, that adversity that people experience in whatever form. Worse than that, and many people have worse experiences than that, or even mild forms of adversity. Point is, there's always something to learn from that lesson, and it's not the crisis that matters. It's how you respond to that crisis.
Fantastic.
That's what I discovered at an early age.
I believe that so much. Wow, that is amazing. I did not know that about you. As the CEO of iconic brands like Blockbuster and chairman and CEO of 7-Eleven, I'm sure, especially I'm come from a corporate background myself, you must have experienced so many of the greatest challenges. What were some of the greatest ones that you faced in building and scaling these businesses? Because I can imagine there would have been a lot.
There were many, many. And I think one of the first challenges that everyone can identify with is forget about what's going on in the corporate environment, in the world, the external world, macro world. We all experience those people who don't want you to succeed within a company. Yeah, and that negativity, and as I said, I grew up around that kind of negativity, so I learned to isolate myself from it. I learned to block it out, to ignore it, to say that's not, that person is not really reflecting me. They're projecting their own insecurities and their own inadequacy onto me. So by the time I got to the corporate world and started dealing with negative people in the corporate world, because it's just reality.
Absolutely.
I was better able, I think I was better equipped to tune them out, not be vulnerable to them holding me down or giving me a bad attitude. Instead, I just blocked them out and kept on moving forward. So that's one example on a personal level. On a corporate level, both 7-Eleven and Blockbuster experienced very severe macro conditions. The market collapsed. And 7-Eleven had just done a privatization, a take private exercise, and loaded up with a bunch of debt, very high cost debt.
Yes.
And it forced the company into bankruptcy. So many people forget this, but in 1991, 7-Eleven was bankrupt. And that crisis, again, was an opportunity to learn, because when I looked around at most of the people in the environment at the time, people had their head down. People were depressed. Instead, again, probably because of the resilience that I developed as a child, was able to say, this is 7-Eleven. It's not going to go away. I'm going to work harder. I'm going to keep my head up. I'm going to look for the opportunity. And it turned out that coming through that restructuring, financial restructuring, I ended up with a promotion, ended up being the head of strategic planning on the other side of bankruptcy. And the company did quite well. It was almost a necessary, it's like a necessary reawakening for the company, because we had been on a very bad trajectory. And so we reinvented ourselves, emerged from bankruptcy, and we're quite successful going forward.
Oh, it's crazy. I always say, like, some of the darkest times will bring out your brightest times too. So you definitely did that, and so much admiration for that. And I love how also you mentioned, you got to be obsessed with learning. And I'm huge on self-development in terms of not just, from an academic level, but also working on myself. And I think as an entrepreneur, as a person in life, you've got to work on transformation. Looking back, is there anything that you wish you would have known when you first started out on your journey?
There are obviously many things. One is this idea that change is actually a good thing. So I've coined the expression that I actually put in the book, called change equals opportunity, which I was excited when I wrote those 3 words down on paper. Change equals opportunity. Wait, the acronym CEO. And that is the job of a CEO, right?
100%.
Yeah. And so I wish I had discovered that much earlier in life, because I knew it instinctively, but I never actually said those words and taught others the importance of managing through change, as I have been now since writing the book. But yeah, that was a very, very important learning that I wish I had had back then, that it doesn't matter what change it is. It can be devastating. There's probably some learning that you can have inside of that change that will make you a better person on the other side of it. And if you think about all business, all commerce, begins and ends with change. Something changed.
Absolutely.
Someone responded, right? So yeah, change equals opportunity.
Oh, I love that, because you wrote this book and it's incredible. When it comes to education, you mentioned 3 things. So we've got reading, we've got writing, we've got arithmetic. You did mention that there were 3 C's of education that were missing, and you've got this gift. And I want you to really share it on this podcast, if that's okay, and touch on this, because you said you didn't even know that you had it. You mentioned one of the things, which is change, which personally I think is probably one of the most important ones. How you operate with that is the trajectory for your whole life. Can you touch on the other ones? I'd love to hear your perspective.
Sure. I've actually characterized three kinds of learnings. First, what to learn, then how to learn, and then ultimately why to learn, and the whys of knowledge and why it's so important. But the what is really how this journey started. And I shared with you on stage in Melbourne. Was it Melbourne or Sydney?
Sydney.
It was Sydney. That's right. I shared with you on stage the way I discovered this was shortly after becoming CEO of 7-Eleven. I was suffering a little bit, as we all do, from a little of that imposter syndrome, self-doubt. It's perfectly natural. All of a sudden I'd been maybe barely 15 years from graduating from business school, and now I'm CEO of a $12-13 billion company with global operations. And I wasn't sure if I was really up for the game. And I was doing a lot of contemplation, really puzzling over how do I succeed in this role. And I had a dream one night. I was sound asleep, and in this dream, I was to be given a gift. And the gift, it was quite a powerful, very powerful dream. One of those out-of-body experiences almost that was borderline spiritual. It was so powerful. And in this dream, I was told to do 3 tasks. And I went off and I did the tasks. And each time I would come back and I would be given a warm embrace. Congratulations, you passed the test. And on the 3rd time, I came back and I was ready to receive my gift. And I was very excited about it. And then suddenly I woke up. And I was so disappointed. I kept trying to fall back to sleep because I wanted my gift. I couldn't wait. It's like, oh, this has to be really good. And I jumped out of bed and I said, this is such an amazing dream. I have to write this down. And I wrote down 3 words. And I sat looking at the 3 words and I didn't really understand it. And so then I started asking friends. I said, I had this really powerful dream and I don't understand what it meant, but I was supposed to get a gift. And I wrote down change, confidence, and clarity. And it was not me that realized this. It was every friend that I brought that to said, Jim, that is your gift. You are somehow gifted with an uncanny ability to deal with change and to find opportunity in the most dire of circumstances.
Yes.
You could have a bankruptcy and you'll find a chance to turn that into a win. You could have devastating thing happen in your life and you'll keep your head up. Your smile will still be there. And you'll say, but I had the privilege of having that person. You don't focus on what you lost. You focus on what you had and what you have had the privilege of having. And so all of that rolled into, wow, maybe I do. Maybe change is a gift. And then they said, well, but most people, even if they accept change, don't have the confidence to do anything about it.
True.
And you, Jim, have the ability to believe that you can learn whatever it is you learn to do anything you have to do. So even if you have to change, if you have to become an entirely different person, you know that there's a place to go to learn how to do that. And you'll do it. And you'll learn. And your confidence comes from your ability to learn because you're prepared for just about anything through your learning process. And so I said, okay, wow, that's good. What about the 3rd? Because I didn't really understand the 3rd, is clarity. And they said, well, Jim, you're not very smart. Friends can say that, of course.
I know.
They said, yeah, that's smart. So what you have is an ability to take very complex problems. It could be a corporate problem. It could be a science experiment. And you're able to solve it by breaking that very complex problems into simple pieces. and solving for the parts, and
Really?
then coming up with a very simple solution. And they said that the clarity thing is, it's really about simplicity. You have clarity of inbound communication. So when someone's explaining something very complex to you, you have an ability to ask the right questions and simplify it so you truly do understand what they're saying. And then you then have the ability to communicate in a very simple way. I use a quote in the book that Einstein said, if you don't understand something well enough to explain it to a 6-year-old, then you don't understand it well enough yourself. And they described this as another one of my gifts, the ability to communicate in very simple, straightforward terms. So net of all of this, they said, change, the ability to embrace it, have confidence to do something about it, and then to understand how to deal with it through listening and then communicating simple solutions, that simplicity element. Those are the three things that represent your gift, and you should share those with others to be successful, because ultimately that's the secret to success in any business that you might encounter.
Definitely. And those, like, it's actually profound what you're saying. I think a lot of people are good at one thing or other, but I need to thank those angels that sent that dream to you. I think it's extremely profound. And I think one of the things I'd love to touch on a little bit more is change, because a lot of people have such a fear when it comes to change. It's like this monster inside where they'll go through all odds just to not experience it. So with everything going on in the world right now, which is crazy, obviously they're going to read your book, right, Jem, whoever's watching this. Besides from that, what advice can you give to people who want to change, don't have the get up and go, or are in fear or in a state of, I'm going to call it paralysis, and can't move out of their zone because I think it will lead to the other things, right? Like once you go through the change, it's going to lead to the confidence and then the clarity and all the other stuff that comes later. But that's almost like the mountain before you get to the other side.
Yes, and then thanks for asking, because I don't want to just give the impression that I've got answers. Here's what you have to do. I also hopefully have ways to get there, paths, to find it. Because I was looking for that when I started researching the book. I said, I can't just say you have to embrace change. I had to try to understand what is it that keeps people from embracing change. And what I've found is that the number one culprit across, and it can be personal change in your life and your family, it can be societal change, it can be change for the planet. It could be something that we as humanity have to wrap our heads around and get comfortable with. It doesn't matter what it is. The root cause of the resistance to change, I truly believe, is fear. Absolutely. And it's the number one culprit. It kills careers. It kills marriages, right? It kills families, countries, corporations. Fear creeps in. And what happens with fear is then, well, first of all, the reason for fear is, and it's a strong word, but ignorance, right? There's something you don't know. When you're sitting in the dark in a room, it's easy to be afraid because you don't know what's around you. And as soon as you turn on the light, oh wait, there's nothing to be afraid of. I now can see that there's nothing to be afraid of. That's what knowledge is. Knowledge is turning on the light. So if you take any form of fear, then that fear tends to lead to anger, and anger can lead to violence in some fashion. The root cause of so many wars, someone's afraid that they're going to be attacked, that someone's going to take something, do something to them. So they go to war over it because it's an escalation of fear. And knowledge ultimately can be the antidote to most forms of fear. So So yes, I think the way to tackle being able to embrace change is understand why it is you're resistant to it. What are you afraid of? And to truly identify what is it exactly that I fear, and then shine a light on it, a bright light, which is knowledge, which is information. Understand that fear. What are you afraid of and why? And then step back from it and say, do I really have to be afraid of that?
Wow, I'm actually lost for words. I'm speechless. That's brilliant. So much of this actually I know that you've put in your book. In this experience age also that we're living in, I want to get to this because something actually freaked me out. The new iPhones, there's eye tracking now, like technology is moving so fast.
Yeah.
How do you envision the future of education, and what changes do you believe are necessary to ensure that it remains accessible and effective for everyone?
Yeah, I'm going to give you an analogy because, again, change, right? So we fear it. Oh my goodness, we've got AI coming. We've got these machines are going to take over the world, and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot to be afraid of, legitimately. But I'll give you examples. I mean, the first calculator that came out, I had an HP Hewlett Packard 12C, and teachers wouldn't let me use it in class. And I thought, this calculator, it can really help me in class. But that next generation, it was foreign to them. They said, no, you have to do this in your head. Everything has to be in your head.
Wow.
And think about how facile older people, I mean, even older than me,
You're only 32. Come on. No.
Exactly. But people like that next generation, like that World War II generation, my parents, and
Yes.
they could do math, man, like that in their head. Incredible calculations. It was just bam, they could do it. I can't do math in my head because I grew up with a calculator, right? But that's fine. I had the ability to do other math skills that I wouldn't have been able to do, but for the power of the calculator helping me with more advanced calculations, right? So it's not right or wrong. It's just different. And when you take a look at new technologies coming in, we have a fear of those new technologies, just like we had a fear when the calculator came out. Oh my gosh.
That's so true.
It's going to rot kids' minds. No, it didn't. It actually expanded their minds.
Yes.
And I think the same way about new technologies that are coming in. And I'll give you an example. AI, I'm really excited about. I've been an early adopter of AI.
Me too.
10 years ago. Yeah, 10 years ago, I was working on a project with University of Southern California to actually allow, we were working with the Apollo astronauts to capture their experiences in video, and then literally have them in holographic form, give someone a microphone and ask them a question. And this data will last for the next 100 years, the ability to literally have a dialogue using AI with an Apollo astronaut.
Yes. Huh.
Incredible, right?
Totally.
So take that one example, just a tiny little example. You can either learn from the Apollo program, about the Apollo program, from a book with some pictures and read about it, and then you fall asleep during it because you've been assigned 10 chapters. It's like, or imagine learning about the Apollo program with the ability to have a one-on-one chat with an Apollo astronaut, even if that astronaut passed 20 years ago.
It's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine today having the ability to chat with Christopher Columbus?
Let's go. Where are we doing that? London?
Right? Yeah, we can. I mean, you literally can by just loading into the model every historical document about everything that he said, what was reported that he said, described, and with enough data, I'm working on a project right now with the Vatican in fact, when I was there in Sydney, I was working with the Archdiocese of Sydney to take the Sistine Chapel and imagine the possibilities. And I'm way ahead of where the rest of the team is on this, but I'll take you all the way to what's possible. Imagine taking the beauty of the Sistine Chapel to the whole world via laser reproduction of the actual, each panel of the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. But imagine having a holographic Michelangelo sitting in the room with you and being able to ask Michelangelo, tell me about Adam and what you were trying to capture when you brought the iconic fingers together. What was your objective? And from writings of the popes at the time, of Michelangelo's discussions, that you can actually recreate this knowledge. So back to teaching. Do you want to study the Sistine Chapel and Michelangelo in a book, or do you want to see that topic come alive? And it's all about engagement, and that's what gets me so excited about technology. We're going to have levels of engagement never before seen by humans, to the way I characterize it, to take the equivalent of machine learning. Why is machine learning so amazing? It's because the machine keeps getting smarter and smarter and smarter. Yeah. Well, it's machine learning now for human learning, to exponentially improve human learning. So what do we have to be afraid of?
It's incredible. And I know many people listening to this who are scared of AI and this stuff. Like, it's your attitude. And I'm going to say, even, hearing you speak and your messages, it's such a refreshing way to look at education, because there are so many people who are in fear and fear of the unknown when they should actually be embracing it. So I'm so glad that we got to speak about this. And I think we need to organize a holographic version of Jim to read us his book. So we'd like to learn from him too. I'm just putting my order in. But so many things are going on at the moment in your life, your career, your legacy. And I want to hear what you have in the works besides from your book. How can people follow you? How can people keep up to date with what you're doing? Like, there's just so many things you're working on. So we want to be involved. Obviously, we're also going to do a giveaway, guys. So if you're watching this, please reshare. And I think we normally do, what is education is freedom to you. Hey guys, so if you are enjoying this episode, if you have gotten value from this episode and it has changed your life by teaching you things, I'm going to ask you a huge favor. If you would subscribe, like, follow, and share with people so we can bring more incredible guests to the $1 Million Branders podcast to serve you better, so you can make more money in your business, in your life, and accelerate your growth into becoming the $1 Million brand that I know is possible for you. Thank you, and my greatest appreciation to you.
I love the idea. I'll give you an example of a program that we have actually now. I think I mentioned it when we met. I have a program with Mr. Beast, Philanthropy, and I'm sure many of your viewers will not know who Mr. Beast is, because it's a very young demographic. But I can assure them that if they have children under 20 years old, that everyone will know who Mr. Beast is. He has 260 million followers and subscribers, actually. And he has taken a beautiful path with social media to do philanthropy. So it's just a wonderful thing. It's teaching young people the power of giving back. And he partnered with us. And basically, he held up my book in one of his videos and he said, read this book and put out a video that says why education is freedom. And you too can qualify for a scholarship, one of $10,000 scholarships all over the world. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So if you know, or any of your audience has young people that want to earn a scholarship, have them read the book. They can download it online. And it's educationisfreedombook.com. is the source for it. So it's the title of the book and book. So educationsfreedombook.com, and they can sign up for that program. So back to yours. How do we get everybody a free book?
What I'm going to do for all the listeners listening to this right now is we're going to purchase some copies, and I think the first 5 people to comment and share Jim's message to their social media, it's got to be something from the interview with Depp that resonated with you, and tag 3 people or 5 people who you are friends with that can benefit from this, and share Jim's message, because it's so important in the world. And Jim, my last question to you is, what is $1 million brand to you?
What is $1 million brand? That may be the hardest question I've had all day. Of course, it is only 9:40 in the morning in London, right? $1 million brand. I'm going to take you down a little bit of a path. I think anything can be $1 million brand if it captures the imagination of the user, of the consumer. I'm a big believer in brand. Too often, though, brands, I'm going to take you down a real rabbit hole here. But brands, I've discovered, whether it's 7-Eleven, whether it's Blockbuster, all comes down to what it is you stand for, what's inside. So it doesn't matter if you've got the best brand in the world. It will be worth nothing if you aren't constantly focused and improving what's inside and keeping up with change, so that that brand remains relevant to consumers, because it will change. That need will change. 7-Eleven was a great case study in that. They stopped keeping up with the relevance of convenience. They had a set of products that were convenient in the 1980s, and then they got to the 1990s, and the needs changed, and they didn't change with them. And so they almost went away, but we were able to revive that. So same with Blockbuster. Blockbuster was an awesome brand for DVD rentals. We actually were able to pivot for streaming. We had acquired a company to do streaming. And so we became very relevant potentially to that new customer. But then change happened again. The financial markets collapsed, and Blockbuster had to restructure its debt. It had $1 billion of debt. And so we had to shift our focus from reinventing the future to now saving the company. And then ultimately did. We were able to sell the company to Dish Network, so that they were able to then hopefully take it to the next level. Dish were the ones that ultimately decided to close the stores. Another story for another day. But they didn't feel that they were able to have that offering at that time that would be able to satisfy that demand for high quality, convenient access to media entertainment. So rather than try and fail, in that case, they pulled the brand off the table, put it on the shelf, and may bring it back someday. You never know.
Yes.
But so you ready for the rabbit trail?
Go for it. I got my hiking boots on. Let's go.
Perfect. You may need them. It may get a little muddy and thick out there. They step into some things along the way. You'll need your hiking boots for. We each have $1 million brand.
I love that.
We don't carry it on our chest. We don't wear it. But we see it. When we meet another person, their brand becomes pretty obvious. And it's not just the physical. Think of this as our packaging, right? What do we wear? What's our appearance? Is your hair styled? Blah, blah, blah. That's the packaging. But your favorite products, take Coca-Cola versus Pepsi versus an unbranded cola product, right? The thing about Coca-Cola, whether you like it or not, you know what's inside. There's consistency, there's integrity, there is a history, and that same brand image on the inside, we as individuals project. So the question is, are you able to keep up with change for your personal brand? Are you maintaining the integrity of what's inside? And that's the trust that people have. Can they count on you? Can they rely on you? Do you have gratitude? Do you have humility? Not humility as in, I'm not as good as anybody else. No, humility in the sense that each of us has more to learn from every person we encounter. And so do we know that? And do we project that when we meet a person to truly want to learn from them? All of those things, compassion, as I said, consistency, all of those things get wrapped into our personal brand. So my favorite $1 million brand is you.
Thank you so much.
Because no, and I'll give you an example of your brand. I was on stage. I'm in character. I'm just doing my thing. I'm talking about my book. Not only did you reach out and engage personally, and it wasn't just, hey, nice to meet you with a blank expression. I could literally see and feel you in the audience being engaged in what I was describing. And your brand was coming out without you even realizing it because of your level of engagement, even sitting in the audience. Then one-on-one, it came even stronger. And then I could have possibly never seen you again. But you followed up and you said, I would like to have you be on my podcast, please. And here's why. And here's why it's so important to me. And that not just once, that persistence in coming back, all of that defined your brand as $1 million brand or more because it was effective. And you were able to take a total stranger and have them see and feel the integrity, the humility, the gratitude, the consistency, the value, all of the things that are inside of you internally and externally, I could see as a third party. So thank you for sharing your brand with me.
Thank you so much. That just made my whole year and month and probably the next 10 years. I'm going to hold you to the holographic gem. So be careful, watch out for it, all the viewers. I'm super grateful, and not just because I interview a lot of people. Just having you one-on-one in person, it did mean the world to me, especially because I came from South Africa when I was 12 years old. I didn't have a lot. I've worked my way up, and I just resonate with you so much in terms of your journey, your humble beginnings. So guys, we've got a very special giveaway for today for all of the viewers who made it to the end of this amazing interview. Jem, do you want to tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, I have an idea. And actually, you gave me this idea because you were kind enough to say that you wanted to give away a few books. Well, I have something even more special. What if I was to personalize a certain number of books, let's say 5, but whoever wins this opportunity, I'll personalize the book to you, put a very special message in it, and send it directly to you. From the US. The purpose of this book is to be given. I don't want people to have this now. If I sign a copy, I assume you're going to put it on your shelf and keep it in your collection. But for most people that buy the book, I hope that what I've dreamed of is this book is a book that just gets given and given and given. Have somebody read it and say, I know somebody that could really benefit from the learnings in this, and it will help them unlock opportunity. So perhaps there's a way that the more they can reach, more people they can reach with the book, the top 5 that have ideas for giving the gift to a school, to children in a school, to libraries.
That would be amazing, guys. And I highly recommend that you read this book. And that's such an exciting giveaway. Thank you so much, Jim.
Well, that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And, I think if it's, hey, if we get enough books in the hands of young people or corporations, whatever, it's another good reason for me to come back to Australia.
We're going to need to, this time we'll keep you though, so be careful.
All right, that's the deal. I fell in love with Australia when I was there, so it wouldn't be a hard sell.
Amazing. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for building your legacy. And I'm going to continue to help build it with you. And your book, Education is Freedom, I have no doubt it's going to touch millions and millions of lives. And I'm so excited to see what you do next. And thank you so much, Em. It's been an honor to have you on my show.
Well, thank you. I am grateful for the opportunity, and I hope to continue the discussion.
Definitely. Thank you.